Okay, I'd like to officially start this county council commissioners administrative session, we'll call it. Okay, Mr. Fry, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. On a beautiful night to be in Madison. Let's hope I don't keep you in here long enough to ruin it for you. Thank you guys for coming together. Let me come and share a couple things with you that we worked out during session. I'm happy to cover any of the issues that we dealt with, but there's a couple I wanted to bring to your attention first and foremost. I think I'll start with House Bill 1454. It's the Department of Local Government Finance bill. Not my bill, but it's a bill I got an amendment in. And it's actually taken me 13 years to get this amendment. And it's something I believe is so significant, I want to come tell you about it. First off, I want to say upfront that each county will make up their own mind whether they want to do it or not. It's not a mandate. The chairman of Ways and Means actually developed the amendment. I'm certainly at the table and help support it. And what it does is it allows for each county to adopt a local option income tax of 0.01%, 0.05% to fund the volunteer fire service. All of you know my past life as a professional firefighter, but as the chairman of the Veterans Affairs and Public Safety Committee, I am constantly doing everything that I can for all public safety, but in this particular instance, the volunteer fire service. I will tell you point blank, we are losing the volunteer fire service. It's dying. Commissioner, you know, the age limit, the age of the volunteer firefighter continues to go up. Recruiting, although we do have some young people coming in, is down. It doesn't match what we lose in retirements. Some volunteer fire departments are closing. When a department closes, it increases the pressure on those departments around them. It's going to increase their run load. It's going to increase their response times. It's going to decrease your survivability rate and increase your cost of homeowners insurance. There's an organization, if you're in insurance, you're familiar with it. Maybe you're familiar, I know you would be, with insurance service organizations called ISO rating. Every fire department has an ISO rating. Your fire rates for your home and business, your farm are based on the ISO rating for your fire department. It's from 10 to 1. Most rural fire departments are 7, 8, or 9, or 10. Some of your good urban departments are 3, some all the way down to a 1. It's based on many things: how much water you can bring, how many people, how much apparatus, and how long it takes you to get there. If you extend that response time, you decrease the survivability rate for the individuals. Whether you're in a house fire, whether you've got cardiac arrest, having a stroke, whether you've been in a car. The number one thing that Commissioner, you know this, the number one thing that somebody wants when they're trapped in a car is out. They don't care if you're a volunteer or career, they don't care who you are, whether you're in a pretty uniform or coveralls, they want out, and you're there to help them. If it takes longer and longer and longer, their survivability rate decreases. There's a something that we learned, former paramedic, called the golden hour. You may have heard of it. The golden hour is the amount of time from when you are critically injured until you must be on the operating table. That's the time from when you're hurt, someone had to call 911, maybe you did, maybe someone else. The response took place. They had to, what we call, package you, get you on a cot, or take care of your injuries to stabilize you and get you to a hospital and in an operating room within 1 hour. If you aren't there, your survivability rate drops 50%. If you're between King's Daughter and Margaret Mary and Batesville or the Dearborn County Hospital, the options of you, or opportunity for you to be in an operating room within an hour from a critical injury almost don't exist. It just doesn't happen. If we increase the response times because we have fewer volunteer fire departments, that just exacerbates the problem. And so some of the things that we believe are causing this problem, and please, absolutely, I want to hear from you, and I want your comments, and some of you are well versed in the fire service as well, and volunteer fire service. I want to hear from you as well. Some of the reasons that we believe this is happening. One is it's very hard to get the training that has to be taken. We cannot put firefighters, career or volunteer, in harm's way without proper training. You can't do it. If you do, you're going to get somebody hurt, either the civilian or the firefighter or both. And so we can't compromise the training. What we can do is bring the training closer to home. One of the things that I'm working on right now in the Department of Homeland Security, based on $7 million in House Bill 1001, the state budget, is to bring additional fire training to our communities. I've been up to Ivy Tech, met with Dr. Harson twice, and they have a state-of-the-art paramedic program, EMT program. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Beautiful, wonderful. I went through paramedic training. If I had something that nice, I would be in hog heaven. I want them to add fire. Everyone who's in the fire service knows emergency medicine and fire are peanut butter and jelly. They go hand in hand, and it would be perfect for that facility. And so I'm trying to get Homeland Security to work with them to put the fire training facility in here in Madison. Why? The shorter distance that your individuals have to travel to get the training, the less difficult it is for them to get it. You understand, these are volunteer firefighters. They have a career. Sometimes they're young families, they have young children, they have responsibilities with their families, they have to a job, they got to work, and sometimes they travel. It's very difficult in today's world to be a volunteer firefighter. If you have to drive from here to Indianapolis or here to Louisville to get fire training, it makes it more difficult, and it deters individuals from joining the fire service. If we can bring fire training here to Madison, we have some training that's offered at the Career Center in Versailles. We're trying to get it every 30 miles from every fire station in Indiana, a training facility, a regional training facility. Take you back a little bit. I created the Indiana State Fire Academy in 2016. Governor Pence signed it into law, went off to be vice president. The state never funded it. It's taken me this long to get it funded. We finally got the funding. It's in this bill, in the budget. So now we can begin to put that in place, and it's a hub and spoke concept. Plainfield will be the main fire academy. That's next to the State Police Academy. That spoke would go out to each of your regional training facilities around the state, like Madison, and from there, that would become a hub, and the spokes would go out to your fire station in Canaan or Deputy or wherever we want to go. Some training has to be done at the main facility. Some training will have to be done. It can be done in the regional facility. Others can be done in the fire station. We want to make sure that anything can be done quality in the fire station is done there, so we minimize that strain on the firefighters. The second thing is expense. It's very expensive for a volunteer fire department to exist, and it's getting worse, as you know. And so in the budget, there's $10 million for fire gear and air packs for volunteer fire service. We're able to get that in the budget. $10 million. You can get it through Homeland Security. After July 1st, you can apply. If you're a volunteer fire department, you can apply for fire gear or air packs. And based on the age of your air pack and based on the age of your gear, condition of your gear, they will begin replacing it for you free. So you can get black or you can get tan, whichever your department wears. And the air packs are new as well. We're going to get a lot more equipment, and then maybe if Canaan was buying it themselves, you might buy 4 or 5 sets a year. They're going to buy thousands of sets a year. They're going to get a lot better price. Same thing with the air packs. And so those two things are things that we believe are a hindrance to the volunteer fire service in Indiana. Number one, training and the difficulty of getting it. Number two, the expense of being in the volunteer fire service, which brings me to the local option income tax that we were able to establish. The local option income tax at 0.01%, if it were enacted, and if you made $50,000 a year, it would cost you $37 a year. $37 a year, less than $1 a week. Now, we're talking about fire service, fire protection. If you haven't figured it out, I'm biased. I love the fire service, spent my whole career in it. And but I can tell you right now, I've never understood why we would, certainly we have to pay our law enforcement. We have to pay our EMS. We have to pay the people that plow the snow. We have to pay the people that fix the streets, the people that pick up our trash, even EMS. Why don't we pay the volunteer fire department? Why does it exist? Well, it's always been there. And so we've always depended on it being there, and it's the best bargain in Indiana by far. We're getting $4 billion, estimated $4 billion worth of services every year in the state of Indiana from the volunteer fire service for nothing. Yeah, if we let that die, you haven't seen taxes like it's gonna be to backfill those stations with career firefighters. And you're only gonna backfill maybe a third of them because you're not gonna be able to afford it, and the response times are gonna skyrocket and the whole deal. So this is our effort of saving the volunteer fire service. So how much money does that generate? Well, I happen to have it here from Ways and Means. The analysis for counties in House District 67, 1/10 of 1% of 0.01 would raise about $830,000 in Jefferson County. $830,000 in Jefferson County, conservatively assuming the minimum amount of deduction, a 0.01 local option income tax, should cost a taxpayer for earning $50,000, $36 a year. $36 a year. So, and now I'm not talking about replacing your current funding for the volunteer fire service. This is in addition to, and this comes from the county. It's not coming from the township. It's not coming from, you know, the other entity that might be funding them today. This is in addition. Now, there's a formula that Ways and Means came up with, and it's based on assessed value without farm ground. And so if, for instance, Madison Township protects X number of assessed value, and Canaan, they do theirs, there's gonna be a difference. Madison's gonna have a lot more, so Canaan's gonna get less money, and Madison Township would get more, Clifty 6, or whoever you want to pull out. So it's not a dollar for dollar split, 830. 830,000, you wouldn't split 830,000 divided by the number of departments and send each of them an equal check. It's not gonna work that way. It would work based on the assessed value, and those numbers are available from Ways and Means. They have it, so they came up with it for me. So I had no idea, one, if you guys have heard about it, two, if you heard about it, if you had questions about it, but I can tell you that this is just my opinion. It's very important that I say that. It's my opinion. If we don't do something very quickly, we are going to lose the Indiana Volunteer Fire Service. We just are. When you ask families to have fish fries 4, 5, 6 times a year, when they have, was it deputy every week has bingo? Every week they have bingo. Their firefighters are out there every week preparing food and running a bingo one night a week. Who are you going to get to do that? I mean, how long are you going to do it? And if you're a young fat guy with 2 or 3 kids, or a young lady with 2 or 3 kids, and your spouse is saying, hey, you keep going down that fire station every night, you know where you're not going to be? You're not going to be living here. They're going to make, if they have to choose that, they're going to have to choose their family. Of course they would. It's what anybody would do. So I'm not telling you guys what to do. Probably sounds like it is not. It is your choice. It's the county council's choice. You can accept it, you can, or not. You can take it all the way up to 0.05%. 0.05% for this county would be close to $4 million. The city of Madison is what, 13,000 people? There's no other city that I found in Indiana anywhere close that has volunteer fire service. So at some point, you're going to need to start converting to what's called combination. Combination is a few paid people and rest are volunteer. And if you went to a higher above 0.01, you could then begin to look at that. That's not my call, somebody else's call if they want to do it. But I am telling you, you could raise more money by going up to 0.05%. You'd be about $4 million a year, additional money for the fire service. So there's no conditions on this. The fire departments, when they get their share, they can spend it on diesel fuel, insurance, equipment, a new engine, whatever you need. We didn't want to tie their hands. What we wanted to do though is try to enhance the Indiana Volunteer Fire Service's ability to continue to survive into the future. Literally, again, my opinion, we cannot afford for it to die. It's the best bargain in Indiana.
So if we raise it to 0.05, individual taxpayers would pay about
Going 50,000, yeah, about 36 times 5.
150 bucks.
So let me tell you, I've had this conversation with other groups like yourselves. And the first comment was, listen, the state's got a lot of extra money, they got big surplus. Why didn't the state do this? Reasonable question. We did. We cut your income tax. We cut your income tax rate to 2.9% by 2026. By the end of 2026, each Hoosier will save $500 a year if they make 50 grand. We did save it. We already cut it. So they're gonna save that money. So if you were to add that back in, 0.01, 0.02, fund your volunteer fire service, the citizen is actually not gonna notice it because their income tax rate from the state is gonna go down.
Randy, we did hear about that the other night at the AIC meeting. They brought
I was
that up.
supposed to go to that. I had knee surgery and I'm doing all I can to, I was only 2 weeks ago. I'm doing all I can to stay fair.
I was gonna ask you something that's been kind of near and dear to me that I've wanted to try to get going in Jefferson County was a CERT program, Citizens Emergency Response Teams. A lot of Scott County's got one, and that would be a great supplement. Its role, as far as my understanding, is you have volunteers that help immediately until the first responders get there. Do you know anything about the CERT programs?
Not much.
But anyhow, that enables people that can't give near as much time as, because some of these volunteer firemen, they give 10, 20 hours a week. So what if you could give that much a month to a CERT program to help your volunteer fire departments?
I think
I asked-
anything that would help would be of an advantage.
I talked to Troy Morgan about it, and he said there's only one problem. You'd have to have one person that would have to it would almost be a full-time job to run it. The coordinator.
Yeah.
So that is something I'd like for us to at least kick around a little bit, because I think that'd be beneficial.
One of the things that you can do when you begin to go combination is you have a few firefighters in some stations 24 hours a day. What happens then when the tones drop and a run happens, the apparatus rolls out the door within 30 seconds. Volunteers meet them at the scene. The response times go from 14, 15, 16 minutes to 3 and 4 minutes. That's everything. On an EMS run, and fire runs EMS, on EMS run, you're looking at someone who might be waiting 5, 6, 7 minutes in cardiac arrest or near cardiac arrest, who could be saved with oxygen and the proper treatment in a quick response time. So I'm not trying to tell you guys what to do. Whatever you do is up to you, and this will be the last time we talk about it. I want you to know what's available to you. There's a tool right here in your lap that's available to you. And even if you went to 0.05, you'd only be half of what the state income tax cut is. So you're not looking like you're not going to hurt your citizens. Your citizens are receiving the tax cut already from the state. We were very fortunate to be able to accelerate that.
But if we enact the tax, the state tells who gets what.
No, the formula is simply,
I mean,
You
it's
would have
it's
that-
their formula, is what I'm saying.
it is, but it's based on assessed value. What we were trying to do, Commissioner, was we were trying to make sure that we didn't say Department A over here who makes 34 runs a year gets the same amount as the department over here making 900. We wanted to make it fair. And so what we were trying to do was base that on the assessed property value. When you've got a lot of industry, manufacturing, you're gonna have a lot more runs than you do in Canaan. And not that we're picking on Canaan, I just happen to know Canaan and I know where you're at, Commissioner, but the fact is, it just wouldn't be fair to hand the money out in that equal way per department. So this is just a way that Chairman of Ways and Means came up with to do, we believe, fair. And we didn't put farm ground in it because that would skew it. Anybody have other questions? I'm sure that you guys heard a lot at the AIC meeting, and those are really good and very informative. I think we had a fabulous legislative session. I think our budget, beyond anything anybody dreamed, $44.5 billion budget. Our last budget was $37.5 billion. I've never been a part of a budget since I've been there. It went up more than $500 million. This one went from 37 to 44, and we cut taxes in the meantime. Our economy is growing. Indiana has done a great job of paying off debt. Our money goes further, and we were able to do things like eliminate textbook fees. Yeah, kids, parents want to pay for textbooks. for kids, or fees for school. We were able to increase Indiana, State Police, salary to 70,000 for starting. Teachers, minimum salary 60,000. So I'm well aware that, that 70,000 for the state police is gonna put pressure on you guys from the sheriff's department. Because if you aren't fairly competitive, your folks will go there. And it's worse when you go to smaller communities like Avivi or a place like that. They can't keep people because they're constantly moving where they can get more money. It's what we all do. It's what you do. And I can't blame them for that, but it's going to put pressure on counties and cities and towns who have to provide, law enforcement. You're probably aware of this, but Ripley County does not provide any sheriff's deputies on the road from midnight to 6 a.m. They have half of their sheriff's department openings. Their top pay is like 45,000. They can't keep them. It's just listens. I don't blame the officers, but they're going to have to deal with that. That's their own problem.
It's just something that we face.
Yeah.
It's just something that we face because of the economy and the pay scale change.
When you're looking at inflation, that's just absolutely run away. I'm sure you all have heard about the increase in property taxes. First off, the state of Indiana did not increase the property tax rate. Nor does the state of Indiana get any property taxes. We don't keep any of it. All comes back to locals. What happened is inflation. And when inflation and when you have real assessed value, which we were mandated to do by the Indiana Supreme Court, when you really assess Pam Crozier's house for what it would sell for, and it's gone up 25% in the last year, that's why your taxes went up. We did try to adjust that this year for next year, and hopefully we can stop the big increase, but it was too late for 23. I'm sure you heard all about that too.
Mhm.
I know that's a lot to bring you all together for a meeting, but I wanted you to understand what we're looking at with the fire service, with the volunteer fire service, and what we'll be looking at if we don't take drastic measures. The other thing I'll tell you is these are ideas that I've worked on for years. They may not be the only ones. They may not even be, maybe better ones. I'm willing to listen. If you got a better idea, come to me. I'm happy to do it. But I think overall, we're in a critical position right now with the volunteer fire service. I know of 2 or 3 departments that have closed in the last 6 months. Just in around 2. Anything else I can help you with before I get out of your hair? Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Well, I'm the one who appreciates it. Just giving the opportunity, one, to get that type of amendment and get this funding in the budget for the fire gear and the air packs and the training. That took years.
Mhm.
And I got the academy established in 2016, thinking that was it. And it took to 2023 to get it funded. So it's that, I mean, sometimes the General Assembly just doesn't make any sense, and this is the case. You've probably heard about House Bill 1034. I authored the bill, it's law, and it exempts active duty military from Indiana income tax. It took me 5 years in a row filing that bill before I got it through. But now, if you're a veteran, retired, if you're a National Guard, a Reserve, or an active duty military, you will not pay any. I think it's the right thing to do.
Mhm.
This takes years sometimes to get the right thing through. And if you can explain it, I'd love to hear the explanation, because I don't get it. But when it did go, it went unanimous everywhere it went, and every member of the House was co-author and every member of the Senate was co-sponsor. So if it was that good, why didn't it pass last year? I don't know. I can't explain it. Anything else, guys?
Speaking of veterans, you didn't, I guess, must not receive my request on the veterans having a special season, hunting season.
Did you email it?
Yes, 4 times
Where are you sending it?
to your email.
State
I
representative?
got your reply where you would look into it and all that, your automated reply, I guess you'd call it.
Then you're sending it to the
I
state
said
house.
something to you about it a year ago.
Yeah, I apologize. Hunting season for veterans, we did,
It's what I wanted to mimic was the youth season. The youth gets the 26th, 27th of September, and that's strictly set aside for them.
yeah,
And I think it would be nice to give the veterans that.
You think all
because
veterans or disabled veterans? I think someone had a bill this year for
it could
disabled
be all of
veterans,
them. I
and it
don't,
didn't make it. So,
I don't see why. I mean,
good
that
question.
is so minuscule to
I know.
ask that.
I don't.
Because a lot of the old veterans don't have a lot of time left to hunt, the ones that are able.
Yeah. Let's try it again. We'll try it 24.
I have a disabled veteran question in the auditor's office. There is a cap on the assessed value for their deductions. And I absolutely hate telling a veteran.
For their property taxes.
Mhm. I absolutely hate. I've heard the instance that someone bought a farm for 80,000. You know, whenever they came back, and now it's worth 300 and some thousand, and they do not qualify for the whole deduction anymore because of their property value.
You and I need to talk, and we need to try to work on that as well.
Yeah, that's something that it happens a lot in our office.
What happens a lot in every county if it's happening in your county.
Yeah,
So
and
let's try to get it
it's
done.
the farmer, it's the widow that maybe sold the farm and bought a home. Cause 250,000 is in today's market, that's not that much.
Standard.
Yeah, that's just a normal house.
It's a great idea. And I apologize for not following through on yours. There's 1,200 bills filed per session. Takes a lot of time to figure out what is and what isn't moving. As a committee chair, I have to go through all the bills that are assigned to my committee, either public safety or veterans bills. So I apologize. Should have done better.
Ask your opinion on something. It's in the bill 4.
Yeah, I got it right here.
What's your thoughts on it?
Well, first off, it's optional.
Yeah, I understand.
You absolutely don't have to do it. But Senate Bill 4, I'll just, if you want, I'll just give you my bullet points. Is that okay?
Sure.
The overall goal of Senate Bill 4 is for every county in Indiana to have access to core public health services to support healthier communities and create a better quality of life for Hoosiers. I think what we're trying to do, our infant mortality rate, we're 46 out of 50. We're trying to reduce infant mortality rate. We're trying to help people who have limited health care, have access to health care and affordable. We're trying to help a mom with prenatal care so that she can get help for herself and her baby before it's born. We're trying to help her postnatal care. She can have care for a year afterwards. She can get diapers, she can get formula, she can get care for herself, she can get dental care. These are the kind of things that are in Senate Bill 4. You don't have to do it. You can stay like you are. And but if you do it, it would be an opportunity for you to increase the ability for you to provide additional health care for individuals. Like most states, Indiana is increasingly invested in clinical care focused on treating chronic disease and injury with the goal of restoring Hoosiers to health. Senate Bill 4 provides a sustained investment focused on preventing death, chronic disease, and trauma to improve the health of our state. Senate Bill 4 establishes a public health infrastructure through a state and local partnership where services are delivered at the county level. Counties decide whether to opt in to enhance funding and provide the core public health services. Core public health services may be provided by local public health department or through partnerships with the hospital and healthcare systems, federally qualified healthcare centers and community health clinics or other community-based organizations. I think what they're trying to do, Commissioner, is give you a lot of opportunity and options to work with different groups within your county. And I think it's 80-20 funding. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you're gonna get, I mean, I can tell you how much money is in the budget, but it's astronomical for that program.
I think 60-40, sorry. I mean, it's but 40%, if you're spending that on your local health department now, and it's in line with the core services, and that counts. So it's like you have to put in more funding for it. So,
Here's 10 million for regional mental health facility grants alone in the budget. One of the things that we've heard for years, and we know it's true, is that our jails have become our mental health facilities. And so what we're trying to do is stop that. Now, House Bill 1006, which passed this year, will allow your sheriff department or your police department to transport someone they suspect is mentally ill to a mental health facility instead of the jail. so they can get the treatment they need. They may still go to jail. If they did a crime, they're still gonna have to pay for it, but they're gonna get the treatment they need. We know for a fact that if somebody goes to jail that has a mental illness and it isn't treated and they're not on medication that they need, when you release them, they're coming back. It's just a matter of what they do to come back, whether they hurt you or steal your stuff. And so that was a big focus of all that as well.
You know, in the bill, I mean, it talks about these key metrics. Any idea, was that in the bill or was that left to the?
That's State Board of Health.
State Board of Health, okay. I
They
just
have,
wondered what was gonna become.
and you guys can opt out at any time. If you opted in and 3 months later decided, boy, that wasn't for us, you can get right back out. I've been doing a lot of work trying to with Bethany Legacy Foundation. You're aware who they are. And their goal is to make Jefferson County the healthiest county in the world. What I see here, partnering with them, and we are really trying to do a fantastic thing with them, would make Jefferson County one of the healthiest counties in the state, if not country. This is, it's pretty amazing, all the different opportunities that are in this Senate bill. And it got raked over the coals because, as you remember, a lot of people, including myself, were not real happy with how state health department handled COVID. So they were making sure that this wasn't going to be giving them more power or giving us more problems to deal with in the future.
I have a question on that. How would that be set up for payment? Reason I ask, because a lot of the doctors, the dentists, the eye doctors and all that, people's on Social Security, Medicare, they won't take it. Would you run into the same situation that for that young mother?
Well, I know the state's
I mean,
paying.
how is it going to be where they could be denied? You see what I'm saying?
I do,
Because they can't charge those exorbitant amounts is about what it amounts to.
so the fund in the budget funds the governor's proposed Medicaid reimbursement rate increases for dentists, home health care, and other waiver services, and adds $20 million to 2024 and $40 million to 2025 to increase reimbursement for physicians' services to 90% of Medicare. That's in the budget. So we're trying to address that. Now, I believe the metrics that you mentioned, once those come out, you'll be able to look at it and go, if someone incurs a service at Madison Family Dental, this is how they get paid. That's what all this money in this budget is for. But as far as, I'm meeting with State Board of Health on Friday next week, a week from tomorrow, and hope to find out more about it. I guess the last little note here is for on Senate Bill 4, they would provide a full-time public health nurse. You'd have one full-time employee, school health liaison, support school needs, including vision, hearing, and dental screening, tobacco prevention and cessation, supporting prevention of youth vaping and cessation for pregnant women, or supporting a tobacco control coalition, trauma and injury prevention, promote safety to reduce harm such as injury prevention initiatives, and maternal and child care, providing linkage to care and promote safer sleep. So the whole goal, as I read earlier, is to increase the quality of health of your county. Commissioner, if you look into it, you think, man, this just doesn't fit.
No, I'm looking into it. It looks really good. I'm just making sure I'm not missing something.
You know, I think,
They dangle all this out in front of you and you go, yeah, that's what you want.
if you'd asked me and a bunch of my colleagues in January what we thought of Senate Bill 4, we probably told you what wasn't going anywhere. But they, the State Board of Health, the governor, Bill's author, they worked really hard with legislators to put provisions in here to protect the counties, to keep it local control, to give your opt-out anytime you want. Try to make it as good as it's billed without having the negatives that you might run into.
That was my concern. There were negatives hanging out there that you just weren't gonna be told about, but I mean, everything that I can see says, oh, it's a really good deal.
Well, that was the whole idea.
Well, I know, but sometimes those things that aren't such good ideas don't get brought up. And why would you want to sell the bill because it does makes this, but
And that
I
can
can't
happen.
find this.
Let's
So,
hope it doesn't.
Right. Well, me too, I mean,
Well, but if it did, you can opt out, but I will assure you this, if there are flaws, the 2024 legislative session will fix them. Because there's too much invested here, huge amounts of money, but mostly we have to do something in our communities for drug addiction and mental health care. We have to.
Yep.
We're turning people out of jail who are still drug addicts and they're going to go home and get right back in their circles and they're coming right back to your jail. You all are paying for it and we're paying for it. The same thing, we cannot allow little babies, to not make it. Infant mortality, come on, that's something that we heard about 1800s or 1600s, not today. There's no reason for it. And a lot of the babies are born addicted. We need to be able to help the mom who's has this little guy get the care she needs. I think there was a bill, I know there was a bill, I don't think it made it, was gonna require, I'm sure it didn't make it, but it was gonna require child support at conception. So if you're fathered a child, then you're gonna pay for its prenatal care and its delivery fees and so on, just as if you would after the day it got here. I like the bill, voted for it, didn't go in the Senate. Anything else?
Thank you, Randy, for coming.
Well, you guys
Thank you for being at every fish fry. I don't think you missed a king and fish
I
fry.
might miss one, but I try not to. Sometimes nobody can eat that much fish. I mean, it's obvious I'm eating too much fish, but sometimes there's 3 of them in one night and I can't hit them all, so.
That's your go,
But I
that's your
try.
go box.
And I will be very honest with you. I do like fish, but I love the volunteer fire service and I'm gonna do everything I can to support every one of them, no matter where they are, because if we don't, we're gonna lose them. And someday we'll be sitting around a room like this going, how did we let that happen? How did that happen to us? And now what are we gonna do about it? Talk about taxes. You haven't seen the taxes you're gonna pay. To outfit one fire station with 3 firefighters a day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 12 months is $1 million. That's just 3 firefighters.
salary, right? It's not equipment and stuff.
That doesn't even count the equipment.
Yeah, I know.
That's the firefighters and their gear and their benefits and uniforms, $1 million. You start counting the fire departments you got in the county and start figuring out how many $1 million additional that would be per year. That doesn't even count, like you said, the apparatus, the fuel, the insurance and all those other things.
We just have a lot of houses burned down.
You wouldn't have many. So if somebody burns up in one, they'll be in here and you guys will be fixing it. Just like what happens to us. Something happens and people come to the state house and we fix it. I just think that we have this, well, I've said enough. I like the option. I hope you do too.
We want to be proactive, not reactive.
And I also, not me, but myself and a whole bunch of other people made it possible, if you do this, to say, yes, we're increasing your local option income tax, but we're offset it with a tax cut that's coming from the state. Because it's there.
Now's the time to do it.
It's people are actually gonna save money at the same time, get better purchase.
Maybe you won't have to go to so many fish fries.
People,
Maybe so. I think my Mustang knows any other way but Canaan. Thank you, guys. Anything else?
Thank you, Randy.
Do you have my contact information?
Mhm.
Would you send me the information, what we need to do?
Absolutely.
I will be honest with you, nothing much is gonna happen until probably September.
Mhm.
That's when legislation starts going into sort of the process. So we don't let me forget and don't let me forget. I apologize to you for that.
Put me down
I
right
should have
now.
done it. I'll do it.
If I need to come and talk, I will.
But I will tell you, there was a bill this year that allowed for free hunting for disabled veterans and it didn't pass. So to do all veterans, that fiscal on that just goes out through the roof. That's the driving.
That's a slap in the face. I mean,
Well, I don't disagree with you, but we would like to do what we can. And I'll do what I can.
okay, thank you. Okay,
Appreciate you guys.
thank you.
Thanks.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have fish at home.
I second that.
all those in favor, signify
It's
by aye.
trying to.
Thanks, everybody.